Welcome to Doing the Work, Frontline Stories of Social Change, where we bring you stories of real people working to address real issues. I am your host, Shimon Cohen. In this episode, I talk with Keno Walker, who is a youth organizer at Power U Center for Social Change in Miami, Florida. Keno is from Liberty City and has been involved with Power U since he was 13. He's now 23. We discuss Keno's work to organize Black and Brown youth around issues impacting their community, such as the school-to-prison pipeline. Keno gives a firsthand account of the crushing impact of racism and poverty on marginalized communities. He shares his story of how he got involved with Power U and his evolution in becoming an organizer. I hope you enjoy the conversation. Hey, Keno, thanks for coming on, doing the work. I really appreciate you taking the time. And just to get us started off, maybe you could tell us a little bit about what you do at Power U.
Okay, so I'm a youth organizer. I've been a youth organizer for the past 2 years, and I am growing and developing young Black and Brown students to be thinking about the issues and what they're facing that gets them to get their parents, their friends, their teachers, and the great community involved in a way that like they're taking leadership and organizing these folks to be moving in a direction that actually fits and look like what the community wants within the school, which ultimately pushes into the community. So right now we're tackling this on different fronts, but the one I'm working on is we have a committee that we started called Divest from Police, Invest into Schools, DPIS, which allows us to go into schools, meet with teachers, meet with students, and teachers and students are having meetings, talking about funding, talking about right now there's a $22 million budget that our commissioners are putting into for police officers, 103 armed police officers for the 2019-2020 school year. And we want that to like not even be nowhere near finished. Right now, it's only in the feasibility testing right now. But we're trying to figure out how do we create a win by stopping that. That allows young people, teachers to like actually envision what that money should go towards. Right now, a lot of people are talking about how mental health is a big issue, and what does trust counselors and higher pay wages for teachers look like, and why do we have officers within our schools when they're really not useful or there's no purpose for them to be there?
So how, that's a lot that you're taking on, and it sounds really interesting, and we're going to get into a little bit of that in a minute. I'm curious, you were telling me earlier that you got involved when you were 13 years old, and you've been involved for 10 years now. How did you first get involved, and how has your kind of like training in being able to do this evolved over the years?
So my story is like a lot of other youth story. And then it's funny, but it actually starts to get really serious. So I got involved because I had nothing else to do. I was always at the house. My best friend, he told me about Power U, and I met the organizer at the time, which was the very first organizer, Julia Daniels, and she got my mom to buy into it. And like I went, the first month we was going over restorative justice, which is the alternative to the school to prison pipeline. And we went through a whole training, meeting other young people, and like just getting me to buy into like this whole idea or this whole framework of like not suspending young black and brown students, and why is it important to keep them within the school without exiling them, because of like the harmful effect that happens, and that actually pushes students from school to prison. And I was like, yeah, I was all for it. I got super excited, and then I went to my very first school board meeting. And when I went there, it was the worst thing ever. Our school board members, they didn't care what we said. They wasn't paying us no attention. Some of them was on the phone. Some of them was eating. Some of them left. And then when we asked them to put restorative justice within our schools, or at least start looking for funding to put restorative justice within our schools, they told us no. And I just, from there, like, frustration, aggravation, all this work that I put in, and me believing that the education system was actually for us, it definitely it agitated me to want to be more involved in Power U. And like from then on, I was like, I'm a part of Power U. I'm a part of Power U. And what kept me engaged and what kept me what my knowledge looked like, what my education looked like within Power U. We went to the U.S. Social Forum that was in Detroit around that time. Going there, meeting a whole lot of other young people that was talking about the same thing that was happening within my city, that was happening in their city, and just building with them. Then for the summer, Power U does this thing called College of Leadership, which allows us to learn about racism, homophobia, helps us learn about gentrification, all these social issues that we're facing, that Black and brown students face on a daily basis, but we do not know the name of it, and we don't know how to call it out because it's so normalized. Being suspended out of school for 10 days is so normal. Going to jail is so normal. Seeing police officers in your class is so normal that like we don't confront it or check it because we don't know the name, and it's so normal to us that like this is like an everyday thing to us, right? And when I was a youth, and then like from going to social forum to going to college of leadership, then I got an opportunity to go to this camping retreat type of training called that was held at the Highlander Center for research, and they dive really good into like just other social work that people are doing. Like people in Texas are doing a lot of immigration work, or like the people from North Carolina are doing a lot of democracy working, like domestic workers work, and just being a part of that, and like being in struggle with people. It was like, and like also just seeing how cool these people are, how beautiful these people are, and I'm like, yo, I want to be just like them. So like, and like when I first started, I didn't know the language, I didn't know how to talk the language, I didn't know how to speak the language, and I didn't know how to do the actions either, right? So after a while, just like trying to like really catch up and be on the same page as some people that I just met that I thought was flipping amazing. I'm like, yo, these young people are amazing. I want to be just like them. And I just grew from there, like from a 13-year-old to 23, like just like understanding that like the only way I can create change is by changing myself. So how do I not hold patriarchy? How do I not hold homophobia? How do I like be able to talk about gentrification and different things like that within my own home, to also bring it out into the community?
What is that like when you're, I guess before, I mean, I know now you're not in high school, obviously, and you're not, you're going into organized, but what was that like when you were still in school and you're learning all these things? And like you said before, it was normal, but you didn't have words to put to it, right? Now you're going into the school and you've got the words. What was that like with the other students? What was the response like?
This is not the first time I have been asked this question, because everybody, like when I'm an organizer and I organize young people, and so people at my job or people around me, like, how do you, like, what's the difference from when you was a youth and then what the difference from these guys now? And like my thing was technology wasn't like, we had cell phones and stuff, but it wasn't as popping as it is now, right? And also that like they going through things, and while I was like me being an organizer, me like trying to bridge this connection, it was clicking for me, but it wasn't clicking for everybody else, right? And it's only because of the fact that like it's so normalized that like it, like when you know, I'm trying to figure out how to talk about it because it's even a problem until today. Is that like I can go talk to young people and like try to get them to be plugged in, but people are not trying to hear it just because of poverty and like the situations that they live in. Like my mom, I had my mom and like she took care of me, and like I didn't really need a lot of other stuff, so I had a lot of free time on my hand. Well, there's kids that don't have the opportunity to have their mom around, or going through stuff that's even worse than me, or already have been touched by the juvenile system, right? So it was difficult to get other people involved, but we did our best. And I think what was super important that we did was throughout my childhood of being a Power U, we did a lot of surveying in which we came out with a comic book that talked about the school defensive pipeline, which also showed showed that like black students are 3 times more likely to be suspended suspended and arrested than white students, while Latinx folks are 2.5 times more likely, right? I think that was our way to plug in, or that was my way to try to plug in young people that like was going to school with me, or like my little brother, or my friends, or whoever I could. But I think the most effective way was just a lot of my close friends. Like right now, it's like me, my best friend, and like 6 of my close friends are still part of Power U, even though I'm 23. I'm the oldest out of all of them. It's 23, 22, 21, 20, 19. We're all still a part of Power U. We all still hold these same practices and principles, and we still talk about these same social problems. Even though, like some of them are sous chefs, or some of them are like running food for restaurants, or some of them are like working at the football stadium. We're all like doing like I'm the only youth organizer for right now, but like we're all like doing different things, but we also have these practices and principles that we learned from Power U that we're like still talking about and still trying to be in discussions with people about, and not like allowing people just to like run over us or like try to like push us into these systems.
So one of the things I know that you all do at Power U is you talk about how to build power, right? And to advance different agendas.
Mm-hmm.
Some of what you're talking about is when you're coming from a place where you don't feel like you have any power, and then you start learning different ways to build power, it can feel empowering, right? But how do you build power? How have you been able to get some of these campaigns, have some of these campaigns be effective?
When I was young and when I was inside of Power U, we didn't have victories until later on. Like the restorative justice victory was I started when I was 13, and I didn't get it until 2015, right? So from 2008 to all the way to 2015, that's a long that's a long hole to wait. And the way we created this power, or tried to we're trying to build power, is we're not only engaging young people, we're getting teachers involved, we're getting parents involved, we're getting administration involved. We're going to talk to our commissioners, and not really as I'm talking to you because I'm going to bash you or I'm going to attack you because you're not doing your job, but more of like, what do we need to be doing? So what do we need to do as community so you could give us what we need, right? And that's how we're building power. So like right now we're doing a lot of civil engagement work that our young people are like getting paid to do canvas work. And they go out into the communities, and we have like 6 bullet points that like talks about comprehensive sex ed and like healthy sex sex courses that allow students to know not only about sex, but also about body autonomy, the word consent, what it feels like to talk about abortion, and like to have that as an option, because our young teenagers are not sure what's happening with their bodies, and they are having sex, and like the more we tell them not to, is that's not gonna like make it happen. And then we have an over fluctuation of pregnant teens or young men that are having babies and like they don't know what the heck to do about it, right? Also, we're talking about mental health work. So there's a lot of students that are hurt and that have been hurting other people. And these are like different points that we have on our platform that allows people to like, okay, this is what I believe in. This is what I believe in, and this is how we're engaging our people. This is how we're engaging our community while educating Black and Brown students within the schools. Like right now, I do school units within Edison, and I go and talk to the teachers. I go and talk to students. We did some class reps at Monty High that like we're trying to get young people to be from all religions, all orientation, sexual orientation, all ethnic, to come and really dive in deep and like think about what change should look and feel like for people of minority, and not only that, but also um people people of lower classes, poor people, because there's a lot of we're adopting the idea of multi race like unification. Like there's like a lot of poor white folks that's like on the same page as us. How do we engage these guys too to create a world, create a society or a community that actually fit in what we need? And I think our biggest way is like just trying to grab people and plug them in, and that's by education. That's by figuring out what the problem is, to figure out what the need is for people or the demand, and then how do we get these people as people or voters to start thinking about voting on more, not on a national level but more on a local level, to be moving our politicians out of a politician that's not fitting our needs or giving us our needs, to actually put people in power to get our needs. If not, then I think that's like where our new direction is, or where we're going towards.
For you, what's the biggest challenge of doing this work?
I would say money or funds and the time. Money and time, also healing, because our people are broken. Our people are unknowing or unconsciously broken and not able or not willing to fight the fight because of money. Like poverty is a real thing. Like how can I expect somebody to come out and be in a 3-hour meeting when they have to work? They have to work all day just to pay their bills, right?
Mm-hmm.
People are broken. People need money, and like it's that's like the two big things for me that really sets people in time too. Like how can I actually give people everything they need in a short amount of time, when I only can have a 2-hour meeting with young people, or a 2-hour meeting with teachers, or a 2-hour meeting with parents, and like things happen within their lives that like actually also like pushes them away from what we're doing. Like if their little brother gets shot, or they just lost their house or their car, or like their kid just got suspended or arrested. Like these things also becomes like obstacles for them to like, not only some people get more strengthened within the organization, and a lot of people are just like, damn, like I can't do this and do that, right? So those are three major things that like actually hinders that I feel like that are the challenging things for me within getting people to be more organized. And then also like people have to be very clear, and we as organizers have to be very clear that activism or activists are not organizers. Yeah, like what you can hoorah and like be all loud within like movements, or within actions, within rallies and things, or but if you're not really trying to break down to a smaller level, and like creating real relationships with people, and how do you can hold each other accountable like create change and figure out self-interest, not in a way of like trying to figure out like your own self-interest, but figuring out self-interest that intersects with other people self-interest to get them more involved, to be organizing or to be organized. It's going to be a challenge.
And where do things stand with restorative justice right now?
So right now, yeah. So right now we have so-called we won. They have been doing pilot programs within two of the schools that we know for sure, and then like trying to do something in some high school. So Brownsville Middle, they have restorative justice, which I heard is very well off. A close friend of mine is like, she goes there and like she says they're doing really good within it, and then they have one in Homestead, and then they're trying to do some in high schools. But the restorative justice is not what we think it should look like, and like that's also a point that we tried to mention, is that like we don't have clear wins. Like that's a win, but it's not like a authentic win that we can say that's like, it's like it's an overall like this is gonna change something. And we also know that restorative justice isn't the end all be all either. There's so much other stuff that we have to tackle, but we definitely think restorative justice is a part of our framework for our demands that allow us to create a real win for us. So we definitely need restorative justice, but it's not the end all be all. We need this to be in place, so allow us to hold people accountable while not exiling them, so we can get mental health workers, or we can get trust counselors, or we can get extracurricular classes for our students, or we can get comprehensive sex ed classes for our young people. Which all these things, if you're learning within your school at a young age, this is like something that you carry these principles and practices that you carry through when you get into the community and you get your job, so you go to college or whatever, you start your career, whatever it is, you still hold these principles and practices that allow you to better your community.
I'm going to link in the show notes on the podcast. I'm going to link to, the Power U website so people can go there to learn more about everything you're talking about. A lot of the listeners of the podcast, are social work students, educators, social workers. So this is kind of your opportunity. I want to just give you an opportunity to kind of reach out to the listeners and with whatever you want to get across, use this as an opportunity to, as a platform.
Okay. So I want to first off start saying that I appreciate that you guys are even getting into this work, because it definitely takes a lot of mental stability and a lot of love and care for people. And I also want to encourage you guys to also start thinking about what it looks like to not only be a service, but also think about how do we get to be more on becoming community education for community developers, right? So it's because it's a big thin line that you cannot cross, right? When it comes to like mental health, to like how to organize people, especially when it comes to like funding and grants and where you work at. So I really want you guys to be thinking about what is the connection and how do we bridge these two things, right? So not only thinking about yourself as service or like mental health workers, right? But also how are we connecting this work to community? How are we connecting this work to the systematic problems that's happening within our communities, right? And what is a real way to bridge these connections? How do we not only heal our people, but also engage them into for a fight? And that's not like a physical fight, but more of a fight to like have their land, a fight to have their community, a fight to have what they need, a fight to have their resources. And I think it is really hard. It is really hard to use up people. It's really easy to use up people, but it's really hard to replenish or rejuvenate people. And I think you guys do a really great job at like trying to find out what that looks like, and like really show that you care. But also, our system that we work in, that we live in, isn't for us. It doesn't look like us. It doesn't look like us, and it doesn't fit us. So how do we step out of this box? How do we step out of this system and really create something that's going to look and feel like us? And I want to see you guys at Power U. We have a lot of a lot of our students go through different situations on a daily basis that, me as a yoga organizer that hasn't done social work or hasn't done any therapy work or hasn't done any mental justice work other than the being able to identify what these isms are, or other than how to identify like what the social injustices are. I think you guys will play a big role in what we do within our community, and just be super engaged and like be open to the idea of like really engaging with the community on more of a critical but radical level.
That's great, Keno. I really appreciate you coming on here, taking the time, and for doing the work. You're out there doing the work every day.
Mm-hmm.
What's next for you?
So my idea is to keep working at Power U as long as they need me, as long as I need to be there. But my objective is to be able to create a program that talks about healing, a holistic healing that like rejuvenates our organizers, or our young people that wants to be organized, or organizers have that our young people that's been organizing for a while, because this takes a lot of work, and it definitely put a strain on our ability to withstand, and we get overworked, we get burnt out, and all these different things. So I want to create a training which allows people to be rejuvenated, and doing that in the frame of art. How do we create an art piece, which is, if it's visual art, which is this dance, music, poetry, whatever that looks like, whatever the art form looks like, how do we create this art piece and understand what healing looked like to me, so I can always use this art piece, or look at this art piece, or dance this art piece, or sing or say this art piece that allows me to be rejuvenated. I can I can not only understand what my art piece means to me, but how it moves me to be back, how it rejuvenates me to be where I need to be at and what I need to be doing, which also kind of funnels young Black and brown students within from this art program to be funneled into like organizing movement. So that looks like and I want to do this internationally. It's not like a local thing. I want to do this internationally. So I'm going around just teaching young people about healing within art. So if it's like, if I'm in Chicago, how am I like connecting Chicago artists, Chicago organizers to help me fulfill this program for how long it be, and then allow students to be plugged in within organizations that actually thinking about radical changes, right? So healing, but also funneling young people into organizations to think about what it looks like to be an organizer.
That's cool. And I hope if some people are listening and that's something they're interested in, because, we have listeners all over the country and some international, get in touch with Keno. I'm going to put his contact information in the show notes, and you can reach out to him. And Keno, again, I want to just thank you for coming on the podcast and for doing the work.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you for listening to Doing the Work, Frontline Stories of Social Change. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Please follow on Twitter and leave positive reviews on iTunes. If you're interested in being a guest or know someone who's doing great work, please get in touch. And thank you for doing real work to make this world a better place.